Welcome back to Better Than Before. So, my question for you is, do you fear rejection? When we as leaders need emotional comfort, sometimes we don't have the capacity to remain present and engaged when we are faced with meeting new people or someone that we know has an emotional reaction like anger or resistance to us. We fear that we're going to lose the relationship or that we've been rejected as a person. So sometimes we try to avoid those emotionally charged discussions. And we're missing opportunities when we do that for us to learn and for the other person to learn and for us to grow. And sometimes the need to avoid that emotional discomfort can make the loneliness unbearable. So it's almost like we make ourselves as leaders, we put ourselves in a bubble. And we say, boy, leadership is a lonely job, or it's lonely at the top, or this is a lonely journey. Well, it doesn't have to be. You've closed everybody off, right? Because your need to be accepted has overpowered you, and now you have this fear of being rejected, and the best way not to be rejected is to close yourself off from everybody. And I will just warn you about this one. This one has some insidious side effects to it, because when you maintain constant emotional comfort and you get cut off from other people's emotions, sometimes you get cut off from your own emotions. And then what happens is you're not able to respond appropriately to the emotions of other people. It's almost impossible for leaders to make difficult decisions when they are paralyzed by the fear of other people's emotional responses. And again, like we talked about last week, it creates this movie in their head of this dysfunctional relationship that doesn't really exist. But you're imagining talking to another person that's rejecting you, and you get into that movie, and that head movie that you've got running convinces you, oh, I shouldn't even talk to them. I shouldn't even, engage with them, because I've already seen the movie in my mind, and I don't want that to come true. And it's really irrational. So over the next 7 days, you know the drill by now, but over the next week, twice a day, maybe once at midday and once at the end of the day, you want to stop and you want to ask yourself some questions. First question: did I get or did I feel rejected today? How did I respond to that rejection? Question 3, how could I have responded more effectively and stayed connected? Because sometimes what happens is people say things and they don't know they're rejecting us, right? That wasn't their intention, but we read it as rejection. We heard a phrase, we heard a word, we heard a tone of their voice, and somehow or another that kicked off the movie. Number 4, what situation did I avoid today because I was afraid I was going to be rejected? And what was the result of that? Because I avoided it, right? I'm in this vicious circle of closing myself off emotionally. Question number 6, how could I have engaged that person and hung in there? Have you ever, I'm sure you have, watched a train go by on train tracks? So holding those train cars together, when I was a kid, you used to have the model train set, and you'd have a pin that held the cars together, right? You'd have the pin. And if you wanted to dislodge that car from the rest of the train, you pulled the pin. Right. And that's what we call it sometimes in psychological circles, is pulling the pin. You disengage from the train. You let the train roll on without you, and you left your car back here, right? So you got to ask yourself, what made me pull the pin? What made me disengage from the train? The whole team's going this direction, but I didn't. I went the other way. I pulled the pin, and I disengaged and discoupled, and I'm not with the team anymore. Emotional responses, dialogue, perceived wrongs or insults, all kinds of stuff make you feel like you're being rejected. And if you ask the other people, they may not have meant that at all. May not have known that at all, right? And so finally, question number 7, what did I learn about myself and my leadership from this whole experience? So what did I learn about myself and myself as a leader? The fact that I pulled the pin, I disengaged, I let the train go on without me. And what do I need to do in the future to stay engaged and stay with the momentum?
Thank you for listening to Better Than Before with Tony Richards, a business leaders podcast powered by Clear Vision Development Group. For more resources from Tony, visit clearvisiondevelopment.com. Join us next time for another episode of Better Than Before with Tony Richards.